Chris persuaded me to come to talk to you all, and I said, well, it's a conversation, and I'm sure you have many more questions than I have answers for. I don't profess to come here with any crystal ball. I think what I do know is that as much as our country is going through a set of different crises, so is the world. And I today chair this global foundation started off in 2002 at the UN Summit on Children. And it was an attempt to address the challenge of malnutrition facing 2 billion people in the world. And it was responsible for the deaths of close to 3.5 million children a year. That's almost 6 children every minute dying of causes that are preventable because they do not have access to proper nutrition. And it was Bill Gates from the Gates Foundation and the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan at that stage said, we need to think differently about addressing this problem. And what we needed was a public-private partnership. And so I was approached to chair this, and it had all the best scientists in the world and people with CVs as long as my arm. But this was not a technical problem, because the science to solve problems of malnutrition had been around for decades. The challenge was, can we build an appropriate campaign and partnership, understanding that for the majority of people at the bottom of the pyramid, 70% of those people earn between $2 and $10 a day. I'm giving you this example to say that one of our challenges in this country is that when I talk to business, and many of you are in business, and I talk to a lot of you at a very senior level, and the comment always is that, Jay, we pay our taxes. We have our corporate social responsibility programs. What more can we do? We're too busy running our businesses. And if we take that attitude, then the problems we're going to have and the crisis we see in this country is going to deepen. Because let's analyze what are the challenges we face. So the failure of education in our country. Now, we do know the statistics, and these are government statistics, that half the people coming out of 12 years of school have very few skills, no jobs, and unlikely to have the dignity of a job in their lifetime. Now, all of you here in this room are employed or self-employed. Now, if you are a parent and you're not able to put the food on the table for your children, what dignity do you have? And when you live in a society where you're looking at wealth in the most obscene way, the type of crass materialism we have in this country, and you're seeing people benefit but actually don't do work, we knew then that freedom had to mean more than just the right to vote. It had to mean more than just deracializing politics. It had to be about creating opportunities, creating jobs. We knew we had some tough decisions to make at the economic level to address a triple problem that the majority party, my party, talks about all the time, and my organization that I was the founding general secretary talks about all the time, which is unemployment, poverty, and inequality. So one comes back to all of these things and says, what is our role? Are we going to say, well, we've got nothing to do with it, we don't know what to do? Or are we going to say that, okay, we're going to roll up our sleeves and play a role in sorting out this? And so I go through this, through the challenges that we have and think, now what is it that we can do to participate in finding solutions? If I look at the textbook crisis, in a discussion I was having with certain senior executives in the banking sector, I said, they said, well, should we have a conference and discuss this? I said, no, we don't need conferences anymore. It's a supply chain problem. I was talking to Chris today, and he talked about his supply chain, but talk to any one of you all, and you understand the supply chain problems. What is so difficult about getting textbooks to a school? And that's why, for me, the critical issue of governance, one of the things I do is sit on the board of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation. It's probably you could regard it as the Gates Foundation of Africa. And Mo Ibrahim is a good friend of mine who made a tremendous amount of money out of investing in telecoms at a point when no one thought telecoms was going to work in Africa. But when he made this money, he said, listen, my money came from Africa, I want to put it back in Africa. And he set up a foundation that focuses on the issue of governance in Africa. And that's where, in a sense, we've been working through a system of what can we do to improve governance, because that is the core of our problem. And it's not just governance at government level. It's governance across the board. What are the things we hold government accountable for? What are the things we're holding business accountable for? What are we holding civil society accountable for? And we develop an index, and we work with networks across the country, across the continent, to build transparency about our performance. And so I think the issue of governance has to be core, because the issue of corruption is core. But corruption always has two sides to it, that those who offer the bribe and those that take the bribe. What is business prepared to do on that front? And I go back to some very basic fundamentals. We talk a lot here about corruption. But recently there was a civil society initiative that was launched to deal with corruption, called Corruption Watch. An enormously important initiative, backed by Zwelinzima Mavabi, by myself, and we struggled to get business to support it. You know what business's view was? We can't be seen to be supporting you because we do business with government. The same thing with the textbooks issues. The issue of toilets that our children should be having in school, or water. It's run by an organization which is incredible, called Section 27. You know, at the end of the day, they were 100% funded by foundations I know from outside of the country. And again, it was the same argument. So I run a small trust that I had put some shares in, Chris knows, and we were the first South African group to put money into Section 27. And it comes to the same issue. Oh no, but Section 27 is taking government to court on textbooks. If you want to be citizens of the country, corporate citizens, then there's some tough choices that face you as well. It's not leaving the debate for others to have. It's participating in the debate and shaping the debate. You know, the most extraordinary thing I saw was a discussion on nationalization of mines in this country. And I was talking to Frans Belleni, the General Secretary of NUM, and the union was the first one that came out against it. Not the Chamber of Mines, not the mine owners. And so I'm just saying that, you know, at the end of the day, if we do not stand up and say, this is what is right for the country, and that business operates within an ecosystem, that if that ecosystem is not stable, you can't do business. Ultimately, it's going to come and bite you. And if you take Marikana as an example of an explosion that we always knew was going to happen, why didn't we take the steps to stop it? And one of the challenges there was that leaders are so far removed from where people are on the ground. So whether it's the union leadership in relation to their own members, whether it's the corporate leadership in relation to their workers, whether it's a political leadership in relation to those that elect them, there's such a distance that has grown between them that people have lost trust. And when they lose trust and they lose hope, then violence becomes a language. Because unless we make people feel part of the system, to benefit from it, they're going to have absolutely no loyalty. All we'll have is a society of haves and have-nots, and we'll be sitting in bubbles like this, but they will scale the walls. The walls will crack one day. And that's not sustainable. And I think that's why we need a new dialogue, we need a new conception of a social contract. And we need to tackle this on a global basis because we can't tackle it country by country.